Good morning. Today what we're going to be doing is looking at word problems that relate to multiplication. So I'm going to give you a problem. It's actually a pretty tricky problem. So we're going to take it one step at a time, work through it together, and hopefully you can see the steps. And if you have any questions, certainly leave me a comment in the assignment. So using multiplication to solve a problem. So there's our problem. You're working on a world in Minecraft and you've decided you need to build a square house. Remember what a square is, 4 equal sides. You would like your house to have an outer wall built out of diamond blocks. Your outer walls will be 3 blocks high and each wall will be 5 blocks long. So, 2 questions. How many diamond blocks will you need? And also, how many diamonds will you have to mine given that it takes 9 diamonds to make a diamond block? So this is a 2-step question. And in a way, it's actually a 3-step question because you have to figure out what this 3 blocks high, 5 blocks long house is going to look like. So that's the first thing I want to do. I want to figure out, well, I need to figure out what the actual how many blocks around this house is in order to solve this problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually going to draw. So here's the top view of my house. Here's what my house would look like. This is the top view of my house. Now you'll notice, even though it says it's 5 blocks this way, it says it's a 5 block square. In Minecraft, even though it says it's 5 blocks this way, you only need 5 blocks on this wall, but you're not going to need 5 blocks on this wall because you've already counted this block. So here you're going to need your 5 blocks, but then you're just going to need 4 more, and then 4 more, and then 4 more. So it's a little tricky to try and figure it out. I'm going to make a house with no roof and no door. I'm going to put a ladder so I can climb in and a ladder so I can climb out. That way I don't have to worry about opening the door and having a monster standing right there. So let's count how many blocks I'm going to need, right, in total. So one, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 blocks. So my house will be 16 blocks around, right? Now I can sort of start figuring out, well, that's how much it is around. It's 3 blocks high. So what I want to do is take a step back and use this planning template. So this is a template that I use with my students quite often. And it's a way of organizing your thinking so that when you have a tricky math problem, you're not missing a step, and you're also able to sort of plan it out. So in the square in the middle here, what I want you to think about is, what is the question actually asking you? So you're going to put that in here. So what is the question? So let's take a look at the question again. The question says, how many diamond blocks will you need, and how many diamonds will you have to mine, given that it takes 9 diamonds to make a diamond block? So those are the 2 questions. I'm going to be a little more specific with that first question. Whoops. So this is the first question. How many diamond blocks will I need to build the house? And how many diamonds will I need? So that's really sort of what the question is asking you, right? Those 2 things. Now, what do you already know? It's going to go over here. That's the next step, is what do I know? Well, based on what the question's asking me, I know a number of things. I know the house will be 16 blocks around because I drew it, counted it, and I know that there's 16 blocks around the house. I know that the house will be 3 blocks high. It says that right in the question, right? I know that it takes 9 diamonds to make a diamond block. So those are the things, the pieces of information I need to know in order to solve the problem. And those are all the pieces of information that are in the question, and just also what I know in general. The other thing I might have put in here is that I know a square has got equal sides, right? All right, so what is my plan? So here I'm going to put basically the plan of attack. What am I going to do to answer this question? So let's take a look. First step is I'm going to multiply 16, which is the number of blocks around my house, by 3. That's how tall my house is, to get the number of blocks I'm going to need in total. The next step is I have to multiply that number by 9 to get the number of diamonds I need. So the number of diamonds I need I need 9 diamonds for one of these blocks. So I've got 16 around the house, and let's just gonna grab this here and copy it. And just to make it easier, I'm gonna paste it over here, just so I have something to look at. Oops, my numbers got messed up. Oh well. So basically, I want to take the number of blocks here in I'm going to shrink this a little more, maybe even in my house. This is all the way around if I'm above the house looking down on the house, but each one of these represents 3 blocks because it's 3 blocks high. So I have to take my 16 and multiply it by 3. So I'm going to do that over here. 16. I'm going to make this font a little smaller so I can fit it all in here. Okay, so I got my 16, and I'm going to times this by 3. Now, Smart Notebook is sometimes not great for this sort of stuff, so I just got to configure this so that it looks better. Do. There we go. And I'm going to pull it to the side. Okay, so I have 16 times 3. Now this is the calculation for step 1, the number of blocks. So to do this, the first thing I'm going to do is 3 times 6, right? So 3 times 6, remember I'm doing my ones column first, 3 times 6. Well, I'm going to go to my multiplication chart if I don't know it, but I know that 3 times 6 is equal to 18. So I'm going to put my 8 down here. I don't want it underlined. I'm going to put my 8 down here. And the 1, which would normally go here from 18, I'm going to put this up above the 1 here. That's called carrying. So I'm going to put that 1, whoops, make it smaller again. And just to show that I'm carrying that, I'm going to make it red. So that is going to go up here. So that's the 1 from the 18. Now I can multiply the 3 times the 1, right? 3 times 1 is 3. And I'm going to add this extra 1 in here. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. So I know that 16 times 3 is 48. Right? So that's step 1. I know that I will need, now that's the answer to my first question. I know that I will need 48 actual blocks. So now I can actually come up with my second problem, right? So I'm going to actually put a little, this is number 1. And now I'm going to do the calculation number 2 underneath it. So here's my first problem. This would be much easier if I was using an actual smartboard, but I don't have one right in front of me, so I'll have to make do. So now I'm going to take my 48, which is the number of blocks I need in total for the whole project, and I have to multiply my 48, and I multiply that by 9. Now, once again, I have to fix my silly smartboard software, which for some reason always puts spaces between lines, which is annoying, but what can you do? Line spacing 1, and then I have to underline this, and there we go. So this is my second problem over here. This was my first. Line them up so it looks a little better. This is my second one. So first step is, if you remember, you do your ones first, 9 times 8, right? So 9 times 8, if I look at my chart, or if I've memorized it, or I use my fingers, then you're going to know that if you hold down your 8th finger, you can have 7 on one side and 2 on the other. It's going to be 72. Now I'm going to carry my 7. I'm going to make this red again. So I'm going to carry my 7. That's what that's called, by the way. You're carrying it up to the top of the 4 here. So I'm going to carry my 7 because that's a tens digit, just like the 1 over here was a tens digit. And then I'm going to go 9 times 4. 9 times 4. Well, I'm going to use mental math and go, well, I know 4 times 10 is 40, and I'm just going to take a 1 more 4, and that's going to give me 36. So 9 times 4 is 36, but I have to add this 7 to 36. So 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. So I got 43. So now I've got the answers to my 2 problems. I need 48 blocks, and I need 432 diamonds. I'm never going to find 432 diamonds playing Minecraft unless I go on sort of casual mode there. Or creative mode, I mean. So now I'm going to put my answers down here. I need 48 blocks and 432 diamonds. A lot smaller because that's way too big. So what I might do is underline that just so that the teacher can see that this is in fact what I need. All right, so now I've got 48 and 432. Now what do I do over here? So checking it is basically making sure that you haven't made a silly mistake, because that is really easy to do in math. People make silly mistakes all the time, and they can cause real problems uh, just when you're doing math, but also in the real world if you make a silly mistake. Can you imagine if we had made a silly mistake with coronavirus, how that would have been devastating? So um, let's see here. Just going to make this look a little better. Okay, so checking your work, you can do this in a number of ways. Because we know multiplication is the opposite of division, I could divide 432 by 9 and I should get 48, right? Or what I could do is go, well, if I know these are math families, then I could do 48 into 432 and that should be 9. Or I could do, and this is probably the easier version, I would do a rounded version of these just to make sure my answer is close to 432. So for example, say I want to do a rounded version. I'm going to change my 48 to 50, and I'm going to change my 9 to 10. And what that does is it allows me to do it using mental math, right? Because I know what 50 times 10 is. Whoops. Oh my. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm just going to do this again, blah, blah, blah. All right, um, so I know what 50 times 10 is. I can do that in my head. I know that 50 times 10, I'm just going to add that 0 onto the 50, and it's going to give me 500, right? So now the question is, well, does that make sense? 50 times 10 is 500. 48 times 9, 432. 432 is actually pretty close to 500. When I'm multiplying by 50s, that's pretty close. So I'm checking my answer. I can tell that this makes sense to me. This also makes sense to me. So I know I've got the right answer. And so I'm done. Here's my answer. So this is a tricky question. It's got two-step multiplications. First of all, if I was to give you this sort of a question, or a teacher was to give you this on a test, one of the first thing I would do is think to myself, what unit am I in? If I'm in the division unit, then I know that the teacher's going to want me to divide probably. And if I'm in a multiplication unit, which we're in right now, I know the teacher's going to want me to multiply. So I know I'm going to be multiplying in this question. So I have to think, okay, well, do I multiply these numbers and do I multiply these numbers? And I've only given you three numbers in the question. So chances are it's going to be a two-step question if I've given you three numbers, because that three then be a useless number if I give you three numbers and I only ask for one multiplication question. So this is basically how I would figure it out. But it's important to do all these steps. First, ask yourself, what are they really asking? What do you know? You write down everything, and then what's your plan? All right, and then you're carrying out your plan. So just so you're aware, I am going to put a little quiz on Google Classroom this Friday just to see how people are doing when it comes to multiplication. I want to make sure that everybody's getting this. I need you to complete the quiz. It's in a Google form. You may use your multiplication table, right? If you want to use your multiplication table, your 10 times tables, then that chart, then that's absolutely fine. I will include one in the assignment, and that could help you. But I do not want you to use a calculator, and I don't want you to get any help necessarily from anyone. All right, so you should be able to do this, I think, on your own without any help. It shouldn't take you too long. There's probably around maybe 15 to 20 questions, and some of them are multiple choice, but some of them are fill in the blank as well. Anyway, that's all for today, and hopefully I'm going to give you just one little problem to work on after you watch this video. Have a good day.